This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy, and just restating and updating what we understand to be the case with the investigation into those bombs. Investigators determining that several of the suspicious packages that have been sent to Democrat Paul, CNN, De Niro's restaurant in Tribeca were handled by a U.S. Postal Service facility in Opelika, Florida, just north of Miami, and investigators are on site going through that facility to try and ascertain more evidence to identify the person or persons responsible.
And speaking with postal employees at that processing center who handled the pipe bombs, and thank goodness not one detonated at that postal processing center.
Investigators also confirming, at least I've seen several reports to this effect, that some of the pipe bombs that were delivered were not
intended to detonate.
Well, or maybe they were intended to, and they were poorly constructed. Who knows? But could not be detonated.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
So they would not have detonated. Obviously, that doesn't minimize the nature of the crime. It just perhaps provides more forensic evidence for investigators to focus their search, and so that's why some of these details are useful to understand. Also, there's this matter of the bomb that was sent to CNN being wrapped in this like internet meme with like a parody of an ISIS flag with the inscription "Get her done." And don't worry, I think Larry the Cable Guy has an alibi. But listen to Ben Collins at MSNBC reporting on this that aspect of what was found at CNN.
Yeah, it's just some guy, really. It's a guy in Scottsdale, Arizona who made a meme in 2014. It's been around like conservative like web forums, not like young people like 4chan stuff. I'm talking like, people who follow the Drudge Report and Fox News and stuff like that. It's that sort of circle. So that's what you're seeing right now. This is not a meme meant to, ascribe any sort of direct malice. It's not a real great clue, but it does show you what part of the ecosystem he at least drew this one image from.
Yeah. People who follow the Drudge Report, which I believe is the most trafficked website in the world, or watch Fox News, which is the number one cable news channel in the world. And that sort of reporting was hardly unique. John King on CNN yesterday.
No one's blaming the president. Is anyone blaming the president? But the president now wants to make this about him. Amen to the president for what he first said yesterday. Let's take a breath. Let's everybody tone it down. Mm-hmm. Let's just see where let the investigators do their job. We can all be better. But then it's our fault.
But then let me ratchet the rhetoric right back up. Here's the thing, though. In addition to that little comment at the end, but it's our fault, and now we're going to make it about us. While John King was saying to his panel, is anyone blaming the president? No one here is blaming the president. There was a chyron right underneath him.
Yeah, what did it say?
Trump has no plans to claim any personal responsibility for inciting serial bomber. I'm not blaming the president. This chyron is blaming the president right underneath me. All right, for more on this, we're pleased to be joined again by our friend Bret Baier, anchor of Fox News Special Report, weekdays 5 p.m. Chicago time, and the author of the book 3 Days in Moscow, Ronald Reagan, The Fall of the Soviet Empire. Bret, thanks for being with us.
Good morning.
Morning. So the reporting, we've narrowed it down to perhaps somebody who reads the Drudge Report or watches Fox News, but CNN doesn't want to, and other news outlets don't want to get into the business of pointing fingers or speculating.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable, really. It's I think everybody covering these things should do what we heard from leaders at the very beginning, is just take a breath, wait for the facts to come out, see where it goes. I think it's egregious to say that the printed out fake ISIS flag and the get her done thing comes from the corners of Fox News and Drudge Report. I mean, It's unbelievable, really. And that kind of thing, lends itself to this pushback on the other side that says, oh, yeah, this is all meant to blunt the momentum from Republicans, and all the conversation on that. How about this? We just wait to see what the FBI comes up with, and hopefully, they find someone. And luckily, none of these things went off. Now, we're being told that none of them actually were able to go off. That doesn't take away from the danger, and the reason the FBI says they're not treating them like hoaxes is because you don't want one to work. But the ones that they have seen so far, according to the experts we've talked to, were essentially inert.
And what do you think it means that, the spelling was wrong? He spelled Florida, Florids, and spelled John Brennan's name wrong as well. What do you think that says about the person that might have done this?
I mean, it's all speculation. I mean, who knows? That could be part of the deal to throw people off. It could be just some, really out there guy or person. And, there's all kinds of speculation out there. It could be some outside force that's trying to just sow chaos. Russia does it on cyber. Could they do it by sending 10, pipe bomb-looking things through the mail? There's all kinds of speculation out there. What we do know is that investigators have a lot to go on now, actual physical evidence, and they're starting to zero in. And the fact that they're even talking about a post office in Florida suggests that they're a lot further than people think they are.
Yeah, I also this is a time to unify, calls for civility, and now CNN this morning is complaining about Trump's tweets after the reporting, from that was throughout CNN yesterday with those chyrons and so forth, against the backdrop of Jeff Zucker saying words matter in his statement chastising the president and Sarah Sanders. I guess my question is, all of this hand-wringing over civility and political discourse, wanting to ascribe responsibility for a very adversarial, contentious relationship between this politician in question, Trump, and the press. This has been around since, as I said earlier in the show, 1775. And perhaps it's been ratcheted up over the last couple of years, and perhaps there is a culpability to go around. But, all of this political discourse is responsible for an attempted act of terrorism connection. I find very, very tenuous.
No, it's just so stupid. The whole thing is so stupid. Yes, has the environment changed under this president? Of course. Has the news cycle changed? Of course. Did everybody blame Bernie Sanders when the guy shot the Republican congressman including Steve Scalise, on the baseball diamond? No, they didn't. And it's the same kind of thing. I just think it's really difficult to listen to preaching and then watch a lower third Chiron say the president's inciting this bomber, or right. Trump targets. The other one was bomber targets or Trump targets or something. Meanwhile, they're talking about how no one should be blamed, and I don't know. It's just tough to watch. Well, I think all sides could take a breath.
Yeah, and the implication to the bomber targets, Trump targets, or whatever words to the effect what you're describing. The implication is that he's acting on with the tacit approval, if not instruction, from Trump, and this is from a media and a political party, Chris Hayes at MSNBC, and an incumbent Democrat congressman, Joaquin Castro, who both suggested that Trump and or Jared Kushner gave the order to the Saudis to assassinate Jamal Khashoggi.
I know. See, this stuff, once you go over the line, this is what happens. So it's a circle, okay? The president obviously stirs things up. The left's heads explode. They can't handle it. Then they go over the line and say stuff like that, and then the middle of the country goes, wait a second, what is that?
Yeah.
And then it's a vicious circle that we play every week.
Yep, and CNN taking the president to task for not calling President Clinton or President Obama to let them know what the latest is on the investigation. Do you think that he should be reaching out to them?
Well, listen, I mean, they're former presidents, and it's an exclusive club. You know,
They've all got Secret Service. You know, I'm sure they're getting
Other-
briefed.
other
the bond
presidents
didn't reach
Yeah.
their houses. Yeah.
other presidents may have done that. I don't know whether it's it's not my job to advise them, but I think that the first inclination of the president to call for unity was the right one. And the problem is that he's a counterpuncher. So when he sees the coverage go south, he has to counterpunch, and that's his deal. This one came in a 3 a.m. tweet, I guess, this morning.
I wanted to put a challenge to you, Bret Baier. I want you to perhaps you'll be the first one in the country to be able to accomplish this. Can you find a Democrat congressional incumbent or challenger in a competitive race or a potential 2020 presidential aspirant who will answer the question, should the caravan be allowed into the United States?
You know what? That is a question that is just, it's crickets chirping, and you ask all kinds of candidates about it, and it is, we should be humane, but no real solution, whether yes or no they should come in. And that's it's a big issue. It's not going to go away. I don't know. It's going to take them a long time to get to the border, unless they hop on these buses and the train. But it's an election issue, especially for those states along the southern border.
And lastly, we've got to ask you, my colleague here, Amy Jacobson, gave Megyn Kelly her start. Actually, Megyn Kelly interned for Amy. This is how old Amy is.
I'm not
She
that old.
interned for Amy when Amy was at NBC 5.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, she was.
Is that right?
Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was an attorney, and she wanted to get into broadcasting and be a legal analyst. So she hung out with us for a few months and went on stories. And
Wow.
I'd get done with the story, then she would do it, and
Yeah.
put the packages together and get us, a reel together. So how do you?
Wow, who knew?
And then
Yeah.
Amy is also thinking about opting out of her $70 million contract here.
So were you a little surprised?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of quick hits there. I mean, she lost her show, and now she's working on an exit package and wants Ronan Farrow to be present when they're discussing, how much money she should walk out the door with.
Yeah, I don't know about all the exit stuff and all that. I do feel for her, and I think that maybe they wanted her off of that show before that because it did go quick. But I do feel for her.
I do too.
Yeah, you it always seemed like you had a good relationship with her when you guys were colleagues at Fox, right?
Oh, sure, yeah. We covered many elections together.
Right.
Election night 2016 was quite something.
Oh, yes. Who would forget that?
All right. He is Bret Baier, Fox News anchor. Special report, weekdays, 5 p.m. Chicago time. The book, 3 Days in Moscow, Ronald Reagan, The Fall of the Soviet Empire. Bret, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you guys.
See you.
Have a good weekend. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Hey guys,